Okay, today we're doing the inverse function for a linear function f of x equals to 1/3 times 1 minus 2x. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take this and rewrite this as y is equal to 1/3 1 minus 2x. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace every y with an x and every x with a y. And by doing this, I'm going to have 1 minus 2y, 1/3 1 minus 2y. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to solve for y. And when I solve for y, that is my inverse function. Okay. So how do we solve for y here? Well, first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this 1/3. So I'm going to multiply everything by 3 on both sides. So that will cancel this. And I now have that 3x is equal to 1 minus 2y. And then what I'm going to do is subtract 1 on both sides. And I now have that 3x minus 1 is equal to a negative 2y. And when I divide by a negative 2 on both sides, I now have what y is. Remember that y, when you solve for y, that is the inverse function. Okay. So at this point, we now have our inverse function to be 3 times x minus 1 divided by negative 2. And there is a way that we can check this by picking a number and run it through the function. And let's say x is equal to 1. We'll try a darker. Let's say x equals to 1. What's y? Well, if x equals 1, I'm going to have 1 minus 2 times 1, which is a negative 1. Negative 1 times 1/3, I have a negative 1/3. So y is equal to negative 1/3. So in my inverse function for x, I'm going to use x is equal to negative 1/3. And what should y be? If this is correct, the value of the function should be 1 because I started with 1. So let's go ahead and plug a negative 1/3 here. 3 times a negative 1/3, that's a negative 1. Negative 1 minus 1 divided by a negative 2. Okay. And that's going to be negative 2 divided by negative 2, which is 1. So it checks out. So right here we have y equals to 1. So what we did is we plugged in a 1. We got negative 1/3 for the function. Plug a negative 1/3 here, and it gives you 1. So that means the correct answer was right here, 3x minus 1 divided by negative 2. And that is the inverse function for this problem.